A waiter knocks twice on suite 817. The guest inside has ordered the same thing every night for 6 weeks. Green tea, no sugar, served at precisely 2:47 in the morning. Behind that door sits a man who orchestrated carnage across 3 countries, whose technical innovations made buses into coffins and cafes into morgues. He has survived poison attempts, sniper fire, and a car bomb that killed his driver but left him with only bruises. Tonight, he is wearing silk pajamas and reading technical journals about chemical compounds. The man delivering his tea is not on the hotel's payroll. Within 8 minutes, one of the world's most prolific bomb architects will be dead, and the operative who killed him will walk past security cameras that see everything and record nothing useful. This is how Mossad reached into a sovereign nation's most secure location and eliminated a target that 3 other intelligence services had already declared untouchable. The thing about Mahmud al-Katib that made him so dangerous wasn't his ideology or his connections. Those could be found in thousands of militants scattered across the Middle East, each one convinced their cause justified any method. What separated al-Katib from the noise was engineering brilliance applied to mass murder. He held advanced degrees in both chemistry and physics from Cairo University. He could have designed water purification systems for refugee camps or developed agricultural technologies for arid climates. Instead, he weaponized his education, transforming theoretical knowledge into practical tools for killing civilians. His specialty was explosive distribution patterns. While other bomb makers focused on creating larger blasts, al-Katib studied how to maximize casualties within confined spaces. He pioneered vest designs that directed shrapnel horizontally at torso height, the optimal trajectory for hitting vital organs in crowded environments. He developed triggering systems that armed themselves during the final approach, eliminating the possibility of premature detonation, but also removing any chance of disarmament. Security personnel who identified a bomber wearing al-Katib's work had 2 choices: shoot immediately or accept that detonation was inevitable. Bus number 19 in Jerusalem, the Dolphinarium nightclub in Tel Aviv, the Sparrow Pizzeria, the Park Hotel during Passover. Al-Katib's designs didn't just kill people, they destroyed families across generations, erased futures, and left psychological scars that statistics couldn't measure. Israeli intelligence attributed at least 140 confirmed deaths to devices bearing his technical signature. The actual number likely exceeded 200, but proving design attribution for every attack was impossible when the bomber's body often absorbed much of the evidence. Qatar's decision to host him reflected the tiny emirate's complicated geopolitical calculus. Officially, Qatar maintained diplomatic relations with dozens of countries, including backdoor channels to Israel through mutual business interests. Unofficially, Doha provided safe haven to Hamas leadership, arguing that dialogue required access and access required protection. The 4-season suite where al-Katib resided cost $3,000 per night, paid through accounts traced to Qatari government ministries. Armed officers monitored the hallway around the clock. Security cameras covered every approach. The suite itself featured reinforced windows, a steel core door, and panic buttons positioned within arm's reach of wherever al-Katib might be sitting. This was not sanctuary driven by ideological sympathy. Qatar's natural gas reserves had transformed it from a Persian Gulf backwater into a financial powerhouse, but wealth brought vulnerability. The emirate needed friends across multiple camps, maintaining relationships with Iran, hosting American military bases, mediating between factions that wanted each other dead. Sheltering Hamas figures like al-Katib was transactional politics. It bought influence with Palestinian groups, demonstrated independence from Saudi Arabia, and positioned Qatar as an indispensable mediator. That al-Katib used his protection to continue designing weapons was an inconvenient detail, one that Qatar's government chose not to examine too closely. For Mossad, the calculation was straightforward. Every day al-Katib breathed meant another potential attack. His expertise was not easily replaced. Hamas had other bomb makers, but none matched his combination of technical sophistication and operational understanding. Killing him would not end suicide bombing, but it would degrade capabilities significantly. The question was not whether to strike, but how to do it without triggering a diplomatic catastrophe that would close operational theaters across the Gulf. 6 previous attempts had failed. A poisoned meal in Damascus resulted in his food taster dying instead. Sniper teams in Beirut were detected by counterintelligence before they could establish firing positions. A vehicle rigged with explosives in Amman detonated prematurely, killing the bomber but leaving al-Katib unscathed except for hearing loss in his left ear. Each failure taught him new paranoia. He stopped eating in restaurants. He varied his schedules randomly. He employed spotters to watch for surveillance. By the time he reached Doha, his security protocols had become nearly impenetrable. Nearly, but not completely. Mossad's breakthrough came from a maintenance worker named Hassan, a Lebanese Shia whose cousin had been killed in an Israeli airstrike years earlier, but who harbored deeper resentment towards Sunni extremists like Hamas. He'd been recruited during a family visit to Beirut, approached by someone claiming to work for a European intelligence service researching Gulf corruption. The approach was gentle, offering payment for minor information about hotel guests and their habits. Hassan provided names, schedules, security rotations. For 3 years, nothing dramatic resulted from his reporting. He assumed his handlers were building long-term intelligence pictures, not planning specific operations. Then came the request that changed everything. Hassan's handler wanted detailed information about a specific guest in Suite 817. What time did he sleep? What did he eat? Did he have any predictable patterns? Hassan recognized the name immediately. Everyone who followed Palestinian politics knew who al-Katib was. Providing this information meant potentially facilitating an assassination. Hassan hesitated, not from moral objection to killing a mass murderer, but from practical fear of consequences if he were caught. His handler addressed this carefully. The information would be used for planning, nothing more. If any action occurred, it would happen far from the hotel in a completely different context. Hassan would never be connected, and his payment for this particular intelligence would be substantial, enough to cover medical treatments his sister needed for a chronic condition. The appeal worked. Hassan provided everything he knew. The revelation that transformed the operational planning was simple. Al-Katib ordered tea every night between 2:30 and 3 a.m. The same order, the same service, the same routine that he'd maintained for 6 weeks. His paranoia apparently extended to solid food, but not to beverages prepared by hotel staff in plain view of Qatari security officers. This vulnerability was narrow, but it was real. Building an operation around a room service delivery required capabilities that few intelligence services possessed. The operative needed native-level Arabic with a Gulf accent that wouldn't trigger suspicion. Physical appearance had to match hotel staff demographics, South Asian or Arab, unremarkable features, the kind of face that disappeared from memory seconds after the door closed. Combat skills had to be exceptional because the actual killing would happen in close quarters against a target who, despite his sedentary lifestyle, was younger and likely stronger than he appeared. And psychological makeup had to be extraordinary. The ability to commit cold-blooded murder, then walk calmly past security checkpoints while maintaining a servant's demeanor. The operative selected for this mission went by the work name Daniel, though that wasn't his real name any more than his hotel employment was real employment. His background included service in Sayeret Matkal, Israel's premier special forces unit, followed by recruitment into Caesarea, Mossad's department for targeted killings and kidnappings abroad. He'd operated in 6 countries under various covers. Hotel worker was a new disguise, requiring weeks of preparation to master the specific body language and speech patterns that made service workers invisible. Insertion took 3 weeks. Daniel arrived in Doha posing as a Lebanese expatriate seeking work. His documentation was flawless, supported by employment history at luxury hotels in Beirut and Dubai that couldn't be easily verified without triggering suspicion. Hassan facilitated the introduction to the Four Seasons hiring manager, vouching for Daniel's professionalism and experience. The hotel, understaffed in its late-night service department, hired him after a perfunctory interview. Within a week, Daniel was working the graveyard shift, delivering meals and beverages to guests who rarely looked at his face. The plan's elegance lay in its simplicity and its acceptance of risk. Daniel would deliver al-Katib's regular tea order, carrying with him a small syringe containing a fast-acting cardiac agent. The delivery would provide legitimate access past the security cordon. Once inside the suite, Daniel would move quickly, injection, physical restraint if the target struggled, then departure before the cardiac agent took full effect. The death would appear natural, especially given al-Katib's sedentary lifestyle and stress levels. Even if autopsy eventually revealed the injection site, the diplomatic complications of proving Israeli involvement in Qatar would be insurmountable. The night of execution was chosen carefully, March 17, 2004, a Tuesday, selected for no reason other than that al-Katib had established his routine firmly enough that deviation seemed unlikely. Daniel prepared the syringe in a service closet on the 8th floor, using supplies that had been smuggled into the hotel over several days through normal maintenance deliveries. The cardiac agent was experimental, developed by Israeli medical researchers for entirely different purposes, but repurposed by Mossad's technical division for exactly this kind of application. It worked by triggering massive coronary spasms that mimicked natural heart attacks. Death occurred within minutes, usually without the victim fully comprehending what was happening. At 2:43 in the morning, al-Katib called down to room service. Daniel was waiting for the call, having positioned himself to intercept it. He prepared the tea precisely as specified in the guest's previous orders, placed it on a serving cart, and pushed it through the corridors toward suite 817. Security cameras recorded his passage, showing nothing unusual. A hotel worker performing a routine service. The Qatari officers monitoring the floor watched him approach on their screens, recognizing him from previous nights. One officer even nodded in greeting as Daniel passed the checkpoint. Nothing in his demeanor suggested anything other than mild fatigue from a long shift. The knock. 2 taps, professional but not aggressive. Al-Katib's voice from inside, speaking Arabic with a Palestinian accent. "Leave it outside." This was the contingency Daniel had prepared for, but hoped to avoid. A closed-door delivery meant no immediate access, no opportunity for the injection. The operation would have to be aborted, rescheduled for another night after al-Katib's suspicions faded. But as Daniel prepared to set the tray down and retreat, the door opened. Al-Katib stood there in silk pajamas, looking tired but not alarmed. He gestured for Daniel to bring the tea inside. Those 5 seconds walking into the suite were the most dangerous of the operation. Al-Katib was paranoid but not stupid. If anything about Daniel's appearance or manner triggered suspicion, the panic button was 3 steps away. Qatari security would respond within seconds. The suite's reinforced door would trap Daniel inside with no escape route. The entire operation, months of planning and preparation, would collapse into a hostage situation or a gunfight that Daniel couldn't win. But al-Katib saw what he expected to see: a servant bringing tea. He turned away, walking back toward the sitting area where technical journals and notebooks covered the coffee table. This was the moment. Daniel set down the serving cart, pulled the syringe from his jacket pocket, and moved. 3 steps closed the distance. His left hand grabbed al-Katib's shoulder, spinning him around. His right hand drove the syringe into the target's neck, depressing the plunger in one smooth motion. The entire sequence took less than 2 seconds. Al-Katib's eyes widened, not with pain but with comprehension. He understood immediately what was happening. He lunged for the panic button, but Daniel's grip held him back. They struggled briefly, a strange, violent dance in a luxury suite decorated with original artwork and silk curtains. Al-Katib was stronger than intelligence assessments had predicted, his arms flailing, trying to reach Daniel's face or eyes. But the cardiac agent worked fast. Within 30 seconds, al-Katib's movements became uncoordinated. Within a minute, he collapsed. Daniel lowered him to the floor, checking for pulse and breathing. Both were fading rapidly. By the time 2 minutes had elapsed since the injection, Mahmud al-Katib, architect of bombings that killed 140 people, was dead. Daniel straightened his uniform, checked his appearance in the hallway mirror, and wheeled the serving cart out of the suite. The door closed behind him with a soft click. He nodded to the Qatari security officers as he passed their checkpoint, exchanging a brief comment about the late hour. His walk maintained the same tired shuffle he had displayed all week. The security cameras recorded nothing unusual, a hotel worker completing a delivery and returning to his station. By 3:15 in the morning, Daniel was in the staff locker room, changing out of his uniform for the last time. By 4 o'clock, he had left the hotel through a service entrance. By 6 o'clock, he was aboard a commercial flight to Bahrain using documentation that identified him as a Syrian businessman. By noon, he was in a safe house in Tel Aviv, debriefing 3 Mossad officers who took notes without comment. Al-Katib's body wasn't discovered until late that afternoon. Hotel staff, noticing that he hadn't emerged for his usual meal, knocked repeatedly before using a master key to enter. They found him lying on the floor near the sitting area, appearing to have suffered a heart attack. Qatari authorities sealed the suite and ordered an autopsy, but the initial conclusion was clear: natural death caused by cardiac arrest. The victim's medical history included high blood pressure and stress-related conditions. For a man living under constant threat, working on projects that required intense concentration, sudden heart failure was tragic but not surprising. Hamas suspected immediately. Their statements accused Israeli assassination, demanded international investigations, and vowed revenge. But suspicion without proof meant nothing in diplomatic terms. Qatar conducted its investigation, discovered the injection site during autopsy, and realized that an assassination had occurred under their protection. The embarrassment was profound, but the evidence trail ended there. Security footage showed nothing incriminating. Hotel staff had been vetted. The worker who delivered the tea had already left the country, and the identity he'd used led to a Lebanese national who existed on paper but couldn't be located for questioning. Israel maintained its standard policy. No comment, no confirmation, no denial. Official spokespeople suggested alternative explanations: internal Palestinian politics, other intelligence services, anyone but Mossad. The denials were transparent to everyone who understood how these operations worked, but transparency wasn't the point. Without concrete proof, Qatar couldn't pursue meaningful diplomatic repercussions without exposing its own security failures. The incident was quietly buried, acknowledged only through changes in hotel security protocols and tighter restrictions on who could receive protection in Doha. The bombs didn't stop after al-Katib's death, but they became less sophisticated. Hamas bomb makers who followed lacked his technical genius, his understanding of explosive physics and crowd dynamics. Attacks continued killing people, but not with the precision-engineered lethality that had characterized al-Katib's work. Israeli security officials noted the degradation, measuring success not in attacks prevented entirely, but in casualties reduced. 10 people killed instead of 20, 20 injured instead of 40. It was cold mathematics, but in the calculus of counterterrorism, these reductions meant real lives saved, real families who didn't have to plan funerals. For Daniel, the operative who delivered tea that night, the operation became one memory among many. He didn't speak of it, didn't celebrate it, didn't allow himself to dwell on what it felt like to look into another man's eyes as life drained away. That kind of reflection led nowhere useful. He'd done what his country required, eliminated a threat using methods that couldn't be employed openly. Whether history would judge those methods justified or criminal remained to be seen. All he could do was trust that the people directing him understood the weight of what they ordered and accepted responsibility for consequences that would echo long after the operational files were sealed. The ghost of Mahmud al-Katib still haunts conversations about targeted killings and sovereign immunity. Was this legitimate self-defense against an active combatant, or was it murder dressed in national security language? The answer depends entirely on where you stand, which side of the conflict you view as defender and which as aggressor. Those who lost family members to al-Katib's bombs saw his death as justice delayed but finally delivered. Those who saw him as a resistance fighter viewed his assassination as one more crime in a long list of Israeli violations. Both perspectives contained their own internal logic. Both sides could marshal evidence supporting their worldview. What remains beyond debate is that on a March night in 2004, a man knocked on a hotel door in Doha carrying tea on a serving cart. He left 8 minutes later, having committed murder in one of the world's most secure locations. No arrests followed, no trials were held. The case officially remains unsolved. And somewhere in the files of Mossad headquarters, an operation codenamed after that Doha hotel sits archived with dozens of others like it, each one a small story in the much larger narrative of a conflict that shows no signs of ending. The only certainty is that this pattern will repeat, the targets changing while the methods remain constant, as long as nations believe that eliminating individuals can solve problems that entire armies cannot. So here's the question that keeps intelligence analysts and ethicists arguing in conference rooms and classrooms. Does killing bomb makers actually stop bombings, or does it just create martyrs who inspire the next generation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this investigation into invisible warfare made you question what you thought you knew about security operations, hit the like button and share this video. Subscribe, because we are pulling back the curtain on stories that powerful people would prefer stayed buried. Hit the notification bell. The next covert operation is already waiting to be exposed.